Trillions of dollars are about to change hands in the coming decades. They're calling it the Great Wealth Transfer, which is the largest movement of assets in American history. But what does that really mean for an average family like yours? Today, we're diving in not to just dollars, but the heart behind it, the communication, the stewardship, and the preparation that makes a true legacy. Let's get into it.
$2045, I think, is a projection. Between now and 2045, $84 trillion is going to be transferred from estates.
The whole dynamic of even the next generation is kind of going to look differently, just because people in my generation, they're getting married much later. Hopes and dreams of buying a house are much more slim.
My goodness, paper that you write on, that can deteriorate and fade over time. We can capture ourselves on digital formats now and continue to speed.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Legacy Life podcast. This is episode 31 today. How are we doing this morning?
Doing good. We are having a prolonged summer here in Michigan, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. It's almost, actually, tomorrow is the first day of October.
Yeah.
And it was this weekend, it was like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And I looked at my weather app, and it seems to be it's going to continue for a bit.
Yep.
So I'm glad for that.
Mm-hmm.
I know the change is coming.
Yep. And
but
it will be
abrupt,
swift.
right? But no, I'm happy for that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, doing good otherwise.
Yep. You took a little trip this weekend with some
Yeah.
old buddies of yours. How long have you guys been doing that?
Yeah. So we just figured this out. So for those that are listening here, so yeah, 3 other really good close friends of mine. We've been friends since high school, and we get together once a year. And we really didn't start that right after high school.
Sure.
We are still together through the college years, but after college was done and we're getting married and whatnot, we all said, "Hey, we gotta, start getting together." We kind of had an impromptu gathering where all 4 of us were together at one time, and we said, we should plan on doing this every year.
Mm-hmm.
And next year will be the 20th year that we've done this.
Wow.
Yeah. 20-year anniversary. So my other friend Ryan's got a plan for it. So we're like, hey man, burden's on you, but
right.
you got to make it count. It's 20-year anniversary.
It's the 20-year anniversary. You got to go big or go home, right?
Yeah. It's like step up to the plate.
Right.
But
right.
It's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And we reflect on that and are just like, dang, I can't believe how time flies, but how thankful we are that we actually have something like this that we get to do each year.
Right. Because that's special. Not a lot of people do that. It takes a lot of intentionality, probably.
It does. And, we were talking about it, and some of us were sharing that sometimes when people ask, or what are you doing this weekend? And I tell them, hey, I'm going to, and they're like, what's that? And I share with them. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've had people kind of say back in so many words, that's really cool that you do that. I should probably reach out to some of my old buddies that I haven't talked to in a long time. Like I think there's this innate thing in us that, we like connection and friendships are important. And, and sometimes we get so busy with life that things fall to the wayside and we don't want it that way, but it just happens that way sometimes. And so I'm just real thankful that I've got 3 really close friends that we're really intentional making sure that that continues and we stay connected that way.
Yeah.
It's meant a lot. It's meant a lot to me in my life. So that's what we did. It was in great weather.
Yep. Great weather. Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So
here we go.
The Great Wealth Transfer.
Yeah. This is a great subject to talk about. But the numbers are staggering when it comes to the Great Wealth Transfer.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to get right into it.
Right. Because when I said trillions.
Yeah. I meant
trillions.
But not just a couple.
Not just a couple.
Like I know right now in just 401ks, there's about $44 trillion just in 401ks.
That's insane.
Right. But through 2045, I think is a projection. Between now and 2045, $84 trillion is going to be transferred from estates.
Wow.
Yeah. To somewhere.
Right.
Okay. And just to kind of break that down, I mean, 84 trillion, that number it's hard to conceive
Right.
of.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can't even imagine that much.
No, I mean, you do the exercise. If you spent $30,000 a day, you would spend $1 million would be spent in, a little over a month or whatever it
Right.
is, right? But if you
Exactly.
spend $1 billion at 30,000 a day, that's like 41 years or whatever,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you figure $1 trillion, 1 trillion,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be 84 of those transferred between now and 2045, which is just a 20-year time span.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so divide by 20, it's a pretty big number,
Yeah.
right? And of that number, about 16 trillion of that is actually designated at this time approximately. I mean, give or take a couple billion.
Sure. Right. It's when you're talking numbers like this, a billion
Yeah,
there, a billion here, probably
right.
doesn't move it very much.
It's kind of like when science talks about how long we've been here, and they're
Right.
like, was it 4.2 billion years? No, 4.23 billion
Yeah.
years, right?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well,
Well.
oh,
Okay.
okay, well, great,
Right. And isn't it
Oh, I didn't say though. Going to charities, is
right?
what
Yeah.
that 16 trillion is
16
going to
trillion
going
going
to
to
charities.
charities.
Yeah.
And then half of that, half of like the U.S.'s wealth itself is under management of the baby boomer generation,
Yes.
who are now starting to die off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. And to think about that 16 trillion number for charities, if you think about $16 trillion going that way, that's going to really help change the nonprofit landscape going forward in
Oh
many
yeah.
ways,
Mm-hmm.
which can be good news, for philanthropic endeavors and that type of thing. That's pretty. It shows that it is on people's minds,
Mm-hmm.
that they want a certain portion of their wealth to go that way. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, but the baby boomers right now, half of that wealth is in that generation, that old generation. That's why eventually, as they die off, like you said, it's going to be transferred to the next generation.
Right. And the whole dynamic of even the next generation is kind of going to look differently, just because people in my generation, they're getting married much later.
Yeah.
You know, hopes and dreams of buying a house are much more slim.
Yeah.
Not that things can't change, but
Yeah.
in the current state it is right now.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know how it will all look, but that wealth transfer, and then how people are having children later in life and all that can really change the landscape of what legacy looks like and future wealth transfer looks like as well. But in the next 20 years, there's going to be a huge wealth transfer.
Yeah, especially if you're a grandparent and you want to have impact in your grandkids. But if your kids are having children later, that can cut into that amount of time you have with them. And
Right.
there's a lot of different things that are going to change in that family dynamic.
Mhm.
So, it's going to take some more thought about how to be more intentional and be better planners.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And
go
like
ahead.
a lot of people are a part of this wealth transfer too. It's not like just about the billionaires
Right.
moving around their stock portfolios or
Right.
anything like that.
And especially if we're talking about it here, we know it's not just about numbers and money. There's so much more that goes into this.
Exactly.
And we always like to say that we like to have, if we can, help people attach their heart to their dollars. So there's meaning behind what's going on.
Exactly.
Because this is, there'd be a lot of families that'd be like $84 trillion. And they might say, well, that's not my family. We only have, well, you may not feel like you're part of it or you're going to feel the big impact of it, but if you have anything you're handing off, you're still a part of that 84 trillion.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the billionaires, like you said, but it could be about we talked about the other week, my client who, not a client yet, but a conversation I had that guy from Ford Motor Company. It could be the Ford Motor Company employee. They have a pension they're handing off to their surviving spouse. They have, real estate, or maybe someone who owns a small business, and a small business that maybe your son or daughter doesn't want to run, right? So what about then? Maybe they do want to run it. How does that wealth transfer handled when they do want to run it, when they don't?
Right.
I have a friend whose father was a private business owner. His father passed away, and and now it's it's going to be liquidated or sold to someone else because no one else in the family is going to carry that on. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, again, not about the size of the transfer. It's about the intentionality how it's transferred and how it's all set up.
Right. This is a big part of the conversation that,
Yeah.
again, like the mindset of saying like, oh, that's $84 trillion. Like, what am I going to do to move that or whatever? But we're not necessarily talking about, like how much you will impact that statistic,
Mm-hmm.
but really more so bringing awareness to part of that. Like you are part of that statistic.
You are.
And what's really sad is that most families, they lose their wealth by this. 70% of families lose their wealth by the second generation and 90% by the third generation.
Yes.
And so statistically speaking, like a lot of families aren't doing this well.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe in their mind it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yep. But 84 trillion, you think about it, if it's transferring but 3 generations, it's out of the family in 3 generations. It doesn't mean that wealth disappears.
Right.
It just gets transferred to someone else.
Right.
Right. So, I remember working with a family. The kids inherited a home on the lake. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was a vacation home for the
Right.
family. The parents, in their mind, they thought they had passed on like a dream because the kids, however, the dream was, our kids are going to be able to continue to use this, take their families there, build memories and whatnot. And that picture and that story, that's a very good, a very happy kind of thing that you want to do for your family.
Right.
But the kids in this particular situation saw it as a burden because there was repairs that had to be done on it. There's property taxes that had to be paid. And there were some disputes within the family of how it was to be used and when. Who gets a July 4th weekend?
Right.
Okay. And so within a couple of years, the property was sold and the family rarely gathered anymore after that because of the conflict that ensued in how to use the property after they inherited it.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
It is sad.
So, and part of the reason that can happen is because the asset didn't accompany what we like to call preparation, which without the preparation, it can end up dividing people instead of uniting people. So when we pass on wealth, we also want to accompany that with what's the wisest way to do it. It's like handling a teenager with the keys of a car, right? But you want to teach the family how to drive that car.
Yeah.
Right. So you can imagine how it ends if you don't have that preparation along. So mom and dad might have this great dream and just put it in their estate documents. But if the preparation isn't there with the family, it can be catastrophic, and those dreams sometimes can't be carried out. And so what can happen is that large statistic of wealth being lost or transferred, that's one of the reasons that can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there isn't just a lot of that conversation happening prior. So I think it's really good to have family meetings around purpose. And not just portfolios.
Right.
And we shared in another episode, like one great way is family meetings. So you can really upfront communicate with, here's our intentions. This is what we'd like to do. Get feedback from the family and how they feel about those intentions to make sure that everything's getting set up. Because I know there's a lot of families that don't talk.
Yep.
There's a lot of people who say, well, I think I'm getting an inheritance, but they won't tell me anything. So there's this lack of communication, this barrier set up, and sometimes that can cause more problems. So we encourage, if you can, have these family meetings.
Yep.
We did an episode called Legacy Letters back several episodes now in the teens somewhere, I think.
Yep.
Where it's about how you can write down your faith, your values, your wisdom, your favorite recipes, right? We saw all sorts of different things that people did in their legacy letters. We shared a couple examples on the episode and to encourage people to do that. And especially now in today's age with digital, my goodness, paper that you write on, that can deteriorate and fade over time. We can capture ourselves on digital formats now and continue to speak years and years into the future, things that you want to leave your family. I mean, that's what an opportunity that we have now with technology.
I know, yeah. And isn't there one of your clients is doing something like this? You had a story about that.
Yeah, I don't remember which one I was sharing because there's several that do,
Mm-hmm.
but they basically, if I'm remembering the one you're thinking of, they kind of made what they called their family constitution,
Mm-hmm.
where I think they even made like a family coat of arms,
Yeah.
right? Do you know like they used to do, where family name, family crest, I think
Sure.
you
Yeah.
call it,
Yeah.
with their own, and the symbols they put on it are ones that were meaningful to their family,
Right.
things
Yeah.
that had meaning to their family, and they created it and wrote down like what they believed and their favorite things and what they hoped for their kids and everything. And that accompanied like the pour over wills and the trust and
Yeah.
all the legal documents. This thing was incorporated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really powerful thing because the kids really feel a part of something that kind of like a family identity, if you will.
Yeah.
This is what we're about. This is what we do. And right. And
Yeah. And even if like some people are more quote unquote sentimental than others, some people aren't really interested in doing something
yeah,
like that. But even just having the practical conversation, like, hey, this is what's going to happen,
yeah,
gets everyone on the same page and
yep,
makes sure that the wealth transfer happens in the way that you want it to.
yep.
And
No
that's where
surprises.
no surprises. That's where trust can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And then, of course, if you're concerned about the stewardship of those monies, then I mean, teaching basic financial stewardship early on to your young kids is very helpful.
yep.
Budgeting, generosity, investing. We did episodes on like what we call the 5 jars
Hmm.
and how those basic fundamentals, simple concepts,
Simple concepts.
can lead to huge results.
Hmm.
Never underestimate the little things, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Um, so, yeah, we think all those little things are really important. Communication, like you said, whether it's sentimental
Yep.
or just, hey, here's the facts,
Hmm.
in a way to alleviate stress, surprises, everyone knows what to expect. It can really be helpful long term.
Yep. Yep.
And, if you're a family that has like hopes that the wealth will endure
Hmm.
for multiple generations and impact, all the more reason to have a lot of these discussions and family meetings and so forth.
Right.
Because you want to hand off these values so they can manage it well, so that the next generation can manage it well. You want your principles to continue to endure. It takes effort, absolutely, but it's well worth it if that's what your goal is.
Yep.
Um, so we call it the roadmap. Next generation doesn't just need money. They need a roadmap,
Hmm.
a framework of why the money's there,
Yeah.
how to steward it, and what the bigger story of your family is all about.
Yeah.
So here's some practical steps that families can take.
Okay.
So I know that right now the big beautiful bill came out, right? And there's all these things changing to the tax code and different things. So we may do an episode on that yet to
Yeah.
really go through some of those things. A lot of things changing potentially in retirement plans and different things, but practical. So revisit your plan. If you haven't looked at your estate documents in a while,
Do it.
do it. Especially before the 2026 estate tax sunset. That's going to be taking place in 2026.
Yep.
Talk about liquidity. Okay. So like, for example, we'll do an episode on this, but if you're leaving real estate, for example, make sure the heirs can afford to maintain it.
Yep.
Okay. Write down your story. Wealth without context can be empty sometimes. So just be intentional and take time to write that down and involve the next generation now. Bring them into the planning conversations early.
Hmm.
I think those are some practical things. In fact, in our show notes today, we're going to actually have a PDF where people can download it and kind of have those things as a reminder as they think through their planning.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Um,
Because the great wealth transfer is coming.
it is.
Mhm.
Whether we want to think about it or not, it is.
Right.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. It's just and taking it away from the great wealth transfer. Your wealth transfer is coming
Right.
at some point.
Right.
Hmm.
And the wealth of your wisdom, your experiences, principles, all those things.
Which is a great wealth transfer in and of itself, or
Right.
has the potential to be.
Exactly. So the question is, what story will your transfer tell?
Hmm.
And if you're ready to make sure your legacy is more than numbers, let's start a conversation together. You can connect with us at Legacy Life Financial. Simply in the show notes there, you can get a link to our calendar to schedule a free consultation, to sit down and discuss, what you want your story to be for your legacy. Because as we call it the apple orchard, every orchard starts with a single seed and starts with a simple conversation. So if you'd like to have that, we'd love to speak with you. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
And please like and subscribe.
Yes.
It's
I
completely
always
free.
Forget that until the end. Yeah.
It's okay.
Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah.